Welcome aboard the BK Escape Pod. That's right, it's the augmented and bionic podcast version of the live show you can hear Saturdays from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Eastern on 100.3 FM and AM 1450 WBHF radio. You can stream the show live there Saturdays at WBHFradio.org or on the free Tunein app. Look out, here we go. Stand by for launch.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
The Force will be with you, always.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
When it comes to shows about movies and comic books, heroes and crazy news, I tune into BK on the air from 10 to noon Saturdays.
Well, hello everybody. I think we're slowly starting to come out of our foggy funk that we're in. I mean, I've got some signs that at least I'm coming out of it because I actually got up this morning and I, for the first time in a few weeks, I actually knew what day it was today.
Well, thankfully you've known about all your Saturdays, because I would have hated to do this by myself.
Well, let me clarify that. I knew what day it was because I thought about it before my alarm went off to tell me what day it was.
Awesome. You know what?
I was depending on the iPhone to tell me today is Saturday. Get up and get yourself ready to go on the air. So,
you know what? I feel much the same way. There is a sense of positivity in the air.
How true, and that's true about a lot of areas all over, but that we've been driving around and traveling and looking and getting out, knocking the cobwebs out of our head. We have been getting out and going hiking, in the woods, walking, staying active and whatnot. But that's fine and dandy, getting out and getting your vitamin D like that in the sunshine. You're in the woods a little bit, but there are some open parts where you get some sun. And hey, even when it's cloudy, people don't think you can get a sunburn and get sun when it's cloudy, but hey, you can get a sunburn when it's cloudy because the rays are still coming through. But getting out, getting vitamin D. But we actually have been out over the past 2 weeks now. We have finally gone out twice and had a dine-in meal at a restaurant finally.
That's awesome.
We took the plunge, went ahead and did it. Now, the places we went to were still cautious. All the employees were practicing their distance. They had every other table open, which means we were at a booth. That meant the booth beside us was inactive, so no one was close to each other. But we did. We ate out, and you don't know. It's so weird because you don't know how much more. When we did that, we're like, oh, we had a collective exhale of sigh of relief. Like, oh, we've finally eaten out now. Maybe we're back out now. It's funny what that small little procedure of doing that will do for your attitude and your psyche of giving you the idea of, oh, maybe things are returning to normal. And that's kind of how we felt when we went out and dined out, Alan.
You know what? The more this happens, and I think we talk about it as the domino effect. You have to have the first few to fall before the rest of them will fall behind it. And it takes that plunge sometimes. It takes the first few people to try something new for the first time or recommend something, and next thing you know, it catches on and more people get involved with it. And, hey, I know we go to the phone lines whenever we can. We've got someone who's already calling into the show this morning. Good morning. You're on the air with BK on the Air. Who's this?
This is Barbara.
Barbara.
Yes, I wanted to tell you about an experience I had growing up. I said to someone the other day, I've never been through anything like this before. And then I said, whoa, wait a minute. Yes, I have. When I was about 8, I spent the night with my best friend. The next morning, she got up and she wasn't feeling well. Guess what? She had polio.
Oh, wow.
My parents were terrified that I might come down with it.
I've heard stories of polio from the past, from grandparents and my parents, and we're pretty lucky. My generation and Alan's generation, born in the 60s, late 60s, early 60s, early 70s, we didn't really have to, I don't think, deal with that very much. I remember getting the polio drops as a kid, or the vaccine growing up as a kid, but that is something that we didn't have to deal with, my generation. So your friend had polio. That's amazing.
She had problems with her right arm and her left ankle. So her parents were smart. They put her in the school band, and she had to use her right hand. They gave her piano lessons, which, by the way, I would sit while she would play for her teacher. That woman
That's great.
was the devil. She came in an old T-bottle Ford.
Wow.
And when my friend missed a note, you know what she would do? She would hit my friend's hand with a ruler.
Oh, no, really?
I hated that woman.
Piano teacher from Hades. Wow.
Yes, I
terrible.
hated her.
Well, you know, Barbara, we think this was a big deal, and it kind of was for this generation. But looking back, this whole pandemic, shelter in place over the COVID-19 situation hasn't really been, compared to things of the past and things that hit this country in the past 100 years or more, and generations that have gone through hardships and whatnot. We really haven't had it that bad.
Compared to World War II, this is nothing. Okay, you guys have a good day.
Take care, Barbara. Thanks for calling in to the show.
I did put out today on social media on all our outlets that if you want to call in today, I really pushed it. Call in today. Feel free to call us and let us know what you've been doing during this pandemic shelter in place, what you've been doing, what you've been watching, what you've been reading, activities that you've been involved in, and are you slowly beginning to get out of it and venture out? So there is some sense of normalcy returning to this country and to the world, hopefully, as we come out of this pandemic lockdown in our homes. There's going to be a lot of clean houses coming out of this, but
a lot of spruced up yards.
Part of me can't wait till we get back to a dirty house to normal, because I'll take it if I get back to normal the way it used to be. Well, not real dirty, but sort of.
What's with all this cleaning all the time? Can we just put that back to bed?
Yeah, come on. I've had enough of that. If I vacuum this carpet one more time,
I don't even have carpet anymore. I've got hardwoods. I vacuumed it all up.
You discovered that beautiful hardwood floor under that carpet, right? That's under there.
Oh.
Well, I tell you, hopefully in movie theaters, everybody will be getting back to normal. We'll be having a little more to talk about as everything starts to unfold, as we cruise along. And, hey, don't forget the drive-in theaters. You know, there's social distancing there. So if you want to go see a movie and you still feel uncomfortable once they open back up, go see a movie to drive-in if you haven't in a long time. It'll bring back memories. If it's for the first time, it'll be great. We got the Golden Rage of TV coming up with DK on there when we come back.
Gather round the Jiffy Pop. Gather round the Jiffy Pop. The Jiffy Pop.
The Jiffy Pop.
Gather round the Jiffy Pop. The family fun treat.
And here's great fun, a Jungle Book Magic Picture Kit, free in specially marked packages of Jiffy Pop popcorn. Each kit's a different scene from Walt Disney Productions' full-length feature, Jungle Book. 4 fun scenes in all.
Here comes the Jiffy Pop. Fresh, hot, and delicious every time because you make it yourself. Gather round the Jiffy Pop. The family fun treat.
The Lone Ranger. Io Silver! Away! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his fearless Indian friend Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again. Hi-Yo Silver! Away!
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. We all know actor William Conrad from his starring role in the detective series Canon, which ran from 1971 to 76 for 122 episodes. His half-century of show business contributions began much earlier than this breakout role. While serving in World War II as an Army fighter pilot, William began his showbiz journey by directing and producing for the Armed Forces Radio Service. After the war, and at the ripe old age of 22, his career in classic radio took off. The amount of roles he played is too vast to list. Even Conrad himself estimated he'd played as many as 7,500 different characters. In 1952, William made his mark in radio by forging the iconic role of Marshal Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke. But he wasn't simply a great voice actor. He could do it in front of a camera as well. His first feature film came in 1946 in The Killers, and later in such movies as Joan of Arc in 1948 and 1965's Brainstorm, just to name a few. The multi-talented Conrad also took the director's chair for episodes of classic TV shows like The Rifleman, Bat Masterson, Route 66, 77 Sunset Strip, and more. In 1959, William landed yet another highly memorable voice role. He was the narrator with the perfect ringside tonality on the cartoon The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Having firmly established himself as an actor, director, and producer, in 1997, William Conrad's legacy was complete as he was posthumously inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame. This is Pat McCormick with your Retro TV trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on YouTube and Facebook at Golden Rage of TV and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. And now back to BK on the Air.
Perfect time for me to go refresh my cup of coffee in my Marvel cup this morning. I got a marvelous cup of coffee this morning for a marvelous Saturday morning. You know, Alan, it's amazing how much William Conrad was, what a career he had. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that. Actually, I did not know most of the beginning parts of his career.
Yeah, he had a lucrative career in show business, beginning in radio. Now, I knew that he did start out. I used to, and I still do from time to time, listen to old radio dramas like Gunsmoke and The Whistler and Dragnet, Superman, Flash Gordon. Got bought a box set of those for Christmas many years ago on CD, and have since transferred them to the computer and still can listen to those fantastic radio dramas, because before television, that's all people had to listen to was the radio. You may recall the Waltons gathered around the radio in the living room to listen to radio dramas every night, kind of like we do around television watching Netflix. There's always something entertaining us, and back then that's all they had, and it was fantastic. But I remember, Alan, do you remember the early 80s CBS Saturday morning cartoon Filmation, The Lone Ranger? Do you remember their 80s? Okay.
Used to watch that
The Lone
all
Ranger
the time.
was voiced in that cartoon by William Conrad.
Isn't that amazing? I had no
That
idea.
was William, yeah, that was him doing it. But you know what's funny is he was credited in the credits of the Lone Ranger cartoon in the early 80s as J. Darnock, Darnoc, and that's Conrad. I don't know where he got the J from, but that's Conrad backwards. Because I found out that there still seemed to be a stigma, even at that time, after his long career of what he did, he still felt that there was a stigma of doing cartoon voices that might affect his career at the time. He agreed to do the voice of the Lone Ranger, but he didn't want his name on there, so he used the pseudonym J. Darnock.
That's wild. That is amazing. That may be why I didn't realize that it was Conrad's voice in those cartoons.
The only reason that I kind of found out later on, I don't think I recognized it as a kid watching it, but later on I'm like, that sounds an awful lot like William Conrad, because at the time I was really only familiar with William Conrad as a young kid in the 80s, early 80s, from Cannon, his private detective show that he had in the 70s, which was incredibly popular. And what's funny about Cannon is William Conrad was always kind of concerned about his weight, because he was a hefty guy. If you notice, you ever looked at a picture of him, Cannon, Jake and the Fat Man, which he was, Jake and the Fat Man. There's a name for you, being on the show, being a big overweight guy. And he at one point wanted to try to lose weight, and I think CBS executives and producers said, no, don't lose weight, because people identify with you like that. You're Cannon, so stay the way you are. So I guess he just kept eating then. So
Great.
He didn't really have to worry about it.
Let me take 10 years off my life because this is my brand.
The executives want me to stay hefty, I guess it'd be all right. So let me give out the number again. 770-386-1450 is our number. Call us today. If you've never called the program, call in and check in with us and let us know what you've been doing and how you've been keeping busy and how you've been trying to enjoy yourself on the lockdown, which, as we said earlier, really is not as bad as other things that have happened in the past. And I want to run something by Alan here. By the way, I got a Me TV quiz coming up later in the. It's BK on the Air. We're having a great time here Saturday morning. Help you escape the COVID shelter in place. We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, I've got your strange news flashes. The ones to find out to bring in to read every Saturday. It's BK on the Air.
It's my turn to operate.
Operate?
Butterfingers!
It's Operation the Wacky Doctor's
Here's your
Game.
card.
Batteries not included.
Take out his spare ribs for $100. Oh, you'll never do that. Don't touch the side. Here goes his funny bone.
It takes a very steady hand.
I did it. That's $200 for me.
May I play?
Operation, a Milton Bradley game.
Yeah, hi, it's Bill Lumberg. It's about 10 o'clock. Yeah, just wondering where you are. Yeah, hi, it's Bill Lumberg again. I just wanted to make sure you knew that we did start at the usual time this morning. Yeah, it isn't a half day or anything like that. So if you could just go ahead and get here as soon as possible, that would be terrific. Yeah, hi, it's Bill hi, it's Bill Lumber. Yeah, it's me again. I was away from my desk for a minute, just checking in case you called while I was gone.
It's okay if you don't understand what he's talking about. He probably doesn't either. It's BK on the air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online using the Tunein radio app.
This is Mr. Rhythm and Blues. He said hello and put me on hold. To say the least, the cat was cold.
Oh, yeah, that's a great reminder, by the way. If you want to hear the show live every Saturday and you can't hear it on the radio and you're not close proximity to the radio, you can always download the TuneIn app for your mobile devices or your phone, iPhone, whatever you happen to be using, or go to WBHFradio.org, and you can stream us live there 24 hours a day and listen to us wherever you are. Heck, I even tune into the station when I'm on vacation sometime, and I know Alan does too, just to hear what the heck's going on, right?
Oh, you know it. It's something that's always on in the background. There's something, we have pride of ownership too, and we love what we do.
That's right. And I also love to do this too. This is the time of the program that we like to... That's right, flash the audience of the news, the weird, the strange, and the bizarre. And we all know that it's true because I found them on many sites out there all over the internet. And I've got right here the first news. Comes from UPI. A British police department is reminding the public not to call 999 emergency numbers for non-emergency situations after someone called to report their taps weren't dispensing hot water.
What?
The West Yorkshire Police Contact Management Center said a recent caller to the 999 emergency number, Britain's equivalent of our 911, by the way, theirs is 999, reported their hot water wasn't working. Quote, if you haven't got any hot water and your heating isn't working, then you'll need an engineer. Ringing 999 and asking the police won't help you, the center tweeted. The reminder comes after the Essex police issued a similar reminder in April when a 999 caller reported that they could hear a neighbor's loud snoring.
Oh, my God. This is what happens when you leave people inside for too long.
Now, if there's any reason for my neighbors to call and report that, there is, because I know they could call me in a moment's notice for loud snoring. I'm one of the loudest snorers around, and thank goodness Mrs. BK sleeps with earplugs on. But, she always does that because she doesn't want to hear anything.
You know
anyway.
what I was told? That apparently I don't wake up. I was told by my beloved bride, I just punch the crap out of you and you eventually stop.
Oh, no. And that's where you wonder why all the marks are on you and the bruises came from. You don't know where that came from.
I'm telling you. I'm wondering, why are my ribs sore? I don't remember working out. She's like, 'cause you wouldn't stop snoring.
Hey, I told her one night, I said, listen, I stayed up all night last night and I didn't hear me snore once. So I don't know what you're talking about. I got the next news. A group of vacationers captured photo and video when a bear broke into their Tennessee rental cabin and made off with, get this, candy, beer, Diet Coke, and allergy pills. That's what the bear took. Michelle
Sounds like my
Eberhardt
typical stop at the store.
That's right. A convenience store trip. Michelle Ebhart said that she and a friend noticed some bears outside their Gatlinburg rental cabin Friday morning while their husbands were out golfing. Eberhardt said the bear forced its way in through the locked door, causing the two women to flee into the bedroom. They said the bear rifled through their cabin while three more bears waited on the porch. It's a gang. Police were summoned to the cabin and were able to chase the bear and its compatriots away from the cabin. Now, a Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency spokesman said the bear's behavior was a bit unusual. Hey, what's so unusual? Candy, beer, Diet Coke, and allergy pills. The bear obviously has a sweet tooth, is an alcoholic on a diet, and is allergic to pollen. What's there to figure out?
I'm telling you, that list of stuff, I have had nearly the identical list of things to pick up at the store. Hey, we're out of Claritin. We need to pick up some beer. While you're at it, I like to get some Sprite Zero to make a drink later.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I've gone shopping for that exact same list.
See, I don't see the problem here because the bear obviously was trying to emulate our human actions. Well, I've got the next news.
Whoop! My button slipped.
A Spanish news anchor was accused of cheating on his TV star girlfriend when viewers spotted a semi-naked woman saunter behind him while he was filming a live segment. Call Squad 51.
Oh my God! Okay, that's one thing when your dog interrupts your remote broadcast, or when your kid comes in, or you hear the wife across the way say, "Are you still online? Dinner's ready." But come on.
He could thank the COVID-19 pandemic shelter in place for this, because Alfonso Merlos, 41, was hosting the Estado del Alarma channel news report from his home amid the coronavirus lockdown when the scantily clad gal walked into the background of the shot, according to this report. Now, Eagle Eyes fans pointed out the woman was not his partner. So, busted.
Oh, sounds like trouble.
That's why doing Skype or Zoom or anything, unless it is an absolute necessity to have the video turned on, I don't. I just leave the video off. I leave it off now because I don't want anybody seeing my not being able to visit the hairstylist for the past about month at this point.
Oh my God!
I got Kenneth Branagh Frankenstein hair. From
Remember
how his hair was in Frankenstein? It's getting there.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, well,
but I don't look like Kenneth Branagh, so I can't pull it off.
If you're going out to eat, you can go to the barber. Go ahead, make the appointment. Do it now.
Right.
Do it before you come back to the studio.
Mine is open today, by the way, and I'm going.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going to get groomed a little bit, which is great. I've got one last news. This one is super interesting. It comes from Fox News. A zombie satellite orbiting Earth since 1967, when it was launched by the U.S. military, has been discovered by a radio enthusiast. This guy really lucked out here. I bet he feels great. NPR reports that the discovery was made by an amateur radio operator, Scott Tilley, who lives in British Columbia, Canada. Graveyard orbit, where old satellites go to die, is about 22,400 miles above the Earth, according to NASA, which notes that this is almost 200 miles farther from our planet than the farthest active satellites. The UN's online index of objects launched into outer space lists LES-5 as being in geosynchronous orbit. LES-5 launched on July the 1st, 1967, according to NASA, built by MIT's Lincoln Laboratory. The satellite was part of the Department of Defense's Tri-Service Program 591, citing data from the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. Wow, all these organizations I'm saying in this reports, I'm running out of breath. They reported that almost 5,000 satellites orbited around Earth at the start of 2019. Now, so far, we have no word yet if a control blast to the head of the zombie satellite will destroy it, but it might. I don't know.
You either destroy the brain or remove the head.
Do zombie rules apply to satellites? I don't know.
Well, let's find out.
770-386-1450 is our number if you want to give us a call today, by the way. Another way to find out that things are getting back to normal, and I don't know if this is a sign or not, but it was certainly positive, is if you guys have never had a chance to listen to the podcast, The Wilder Ride, I've actually recorded a first episode of their Wilder Ride Listeners Lounge that's coming up. Alan and Walt had me on just a couple of nights ago, and we recorded the first segment of that, Alan. And I think it's going to be a nice addition to the Wilder Ride. I had a great time.
You know what? We'd been talking kind of off and on about doing something, a sideshow where the Wilder Ride has been so cool for the number of guests we've had, and you were a guest on several episodes of season 1 and season 2. And Walt and I have met so many cool people. We said, it'd be kind of fun to do a non-movie or not necessarily that sort of tight format and just kind of chat with people. So, hey, you know what? Sometimes you have to pay attention to the signs.
Well, you use the word sideshow. That's me in a nutshell. Circus, sideshow. I've often been described as obtuse, maybe. Time to time. Yeah, that's right. But it was a lot of fun, and it was great getting able to talk and actually get interviewed about me. You guys were asking me questions about my career and where I got started and everything. And that was a refreshing change.
And that show will drop this coming week.
And I'll post it. Look out for it. BK's appearance on the Wilder Ride.
Remember, if for any reason you must leave your radio, please have the man at the door stamp your ear so you can listen again later.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Montgomery with a word to mothers about 2 new cereals from Quaker.
I'm Quake, the earthquake power cereal made with rice.
I'm Quisp, the Quaky energy cereal made with corn.
Shh, excuse me. Quaker has reinforced Quisp and Quake with B-complex vitamins and iron. These 2 sweet cereals not only taste good, but they're good for kids, too. All right, fellas, it's all yours.
I love Liz.
I love her more than you do.
And now, back to a guy who has no idea what a call of encroachment means, but he knows what roughing the listener is all about. It's BK on the air.
Well, if I don't rough them up a little bit, I don't think they'll learn nothing, right?
How's you supposed to learn something if I don't get to beat on you?
Right. I love that line in Batman Forever. Say what you want about Batman Forever, the third Batman film with Val Kilmer. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a great Batman film along with some of the others. Jim Carrey, for all of his the way he acts and whatnot, I thought he was really funny as the Riddler. But they broke into Bruce Wayne's house, infiltrated his lair, and got him like pinned down to the ground. And Two-Face, portrayed by Tommy Lee Jones, was about to shoot him, and the Riddler went, "No, don't kill him. If you kill him, he won't learn nothing." So I always walked away with that line. I say that sometimes, like, hey, if you do that, you ain't gonna learn nothing. And that's
Gotta
true.
tell you, I like that Jim Carrey version with Val Kilmer as probably the last of the quote Tim Burton style of the Batman. Yeah,
right.
I thought it was a good iteration. I think it went downhill from there, but
it did way downhill, and at least with the very next film. And Joel Schumacher directed that Batman film, but Tim Burton did produce it, though, so it did have his stamp and still his look on it. So still a thumbs up on that Batman movie. I got a story here, too, by the way. I know that later on in the program today, I'll be doing a On This Day in History with anniversaries of things that happened and birthdays and what national day it is and whatnot. We like to do that every Saturday. But right here, I have a story that kind of ties in with that, and I'm going to do it now before we get to that from sci-fi.com. Did you know, Alan, it's almost impossible to believe, but today, May the 16th, marks the 30th anniversary, 30 years, that Jim Henson passed away.
You're kidding.
30
oh my
years
gosh.
ago.
I mean, it makes sense when you say it, but it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
No, he was only 53 years old, but his legacy of creativity, compassion, humor, and innovation are still inspiring children and adults 3 decades later. How'd you like to have that for a legacy once you passed on? It would be something great. And his Muppet character creations like Kermit the Frog, Ernie from Sesame Street, and the Swedish Chef remain instantly recognizable. The Swedish Chef was the only Muppet that just a tad bit when I was a kid creeped me out because he had real hands.
Oh,
you remember that?
Didn't Beaker? I thought Beaker did too.
Well, the chef, maybe Beaker did too, or he was wearing gloves with Beaker. I can't remember. But the chef was the first one I remember seeing having real hands. And I'm like, he's like, hurdy-durdy, snorgy-durdy. And I'm like, that's creepy. That's just a little creepy. It's funny, but it's creepy with real hands.
You know, I've wondered in this age of political correctness, you know how we can't have Apu anymore in The Simpsons because, we're making fun, which, no, you're just doing an accent. I was wondering if it would take, I guess we're okay because, you know, we're talking about the Nordics or the Nords, but I mean, would you ever see where they say, we can't have the Swedish chef anymore because he's talking sort of stereotypical Swedish?
I could see a time where they would say that.
Bernie, boosty boo.
That's right. He was so funny though because he's always the chickens were all scared because he was always after them. Henson's presence is still dearly missed by fans and me and Alan and anybody else that you can talk about because he was a legend to be sure, especially his family, friends, and colleagues. He left behind. In 2017, his longtime collaborators, Frank Oz, you know, Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Yoda. Frank Oz is just a bigger legend almost as Jim is. Dave Goles, who plays Gonzo, Fran Brill, who was Prairie Dog, Bill Beretta, who played Pepe, and Jerry Nelson, who did the Count, the Count on Sesame Street. And all these people, I named one character that they did, but they did a lot more. Released a documentary in 2017 called Muppet Guys Talking. It was the five of them reminiscing about the impact Henson had on their lives and on generations of people who watched the television shows, films, and puppetry he put out into the world. Well, with the anniversary looming, this is so cool. Frank Oz and his wife, Muppet Guys talker producer Victoria LeBaum, decided to get the gang back together to celebrate Henson's memory and to raise money for the frontline workers helping battle COVID-19. They welcome anyone and everyone to pre-register on Muppet Guys Talking for a link to their group conversation today, May the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can register at MuppetGuysTalking.com/Jim, Jim. That's MuppetGuysTalking.com/Jim, and join the Muppet creators and performers in this tribute to Jim Henson and help them raise money for the frontline workers helping to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that is some really awesome news for today.
Yeah, that's a way of being positive about what's going on around us.
I can't even tell you how much I learned and it influenced my life. Sesame Street, watching Sesame Street growing up as a kid. I don't know. It's hard to bump into a kid, and I don't think I ever did bump into a kid that didn't watch Sesame Street. Now, talking about when I was a kid growing up. Oh, hey, did you see Sesame Street? Yeah, I watch it all the time. I love it. And even as an adult, when you ask them, did you watch Sesame Street growing up? And they're like, yeah, I loved it. Now, you know, if I run into one guy that goes, no, I hated Sesame Street. I never walked it. I don't think I could be friends with that guy. Much less, you know, if he doesn't like music. I ran into a person once that says, I don't like music. I'm like, oh, what kind of music don't you like? He's like, any of it. I'm just not a music guy. I don't listen to music. I'm like, okay.
I don't understand that. I mean, I get saying I don't like a kind of music or a form of, but how do you just say in general, I don't like music? I mean, we have natural rhythms in our own bodies. And math, by the way, is highly associated with music. We got somebody joining us by the phone, by the way. Let's go to the lines right now. Good morning. You're on the air. BK on the air. Who's this?
This is Cheryl.
Cheryl. Good morning, Cheryl.
Unbelievable. How are y'all?
We're doing really great, too. We're glad that you called. What's going on?
So here's the thing. I went to college, you know, yay rock. And then came home and went to summer school when Kennesaw was a community college, you know, 10 years ago when I was in college. Anyway, and I had a professor who taught me Psych 101, and he was awesome. And he was also one of the psychologists who helped with Sesame Street. So he had been in on the ground floor, and he taught all that Psych 101 class was taught through the eyes of all the different, like Oscar the Grouch and why they had him and what. Anyway, it was so cool. I ended up majoring in psychology. This was supposed to be a summer, pull your grades up, maybe something, you know?
Right.
And so then I have kids 20 years later or 5 years later or whatever, and I decided I want to take child psychology from him again. And I call the school and say, I don't know this guy. I could kind of describe him to you. I can't tell you his name, but this is what I know about him. She says, he passed away 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you're kidding. But isn't that cool that somebody and back when I was a community college, it was a Sesame Street psych guy. So
Right,
anyway,
that
I
is
thought that
cool.
was cool.
Now, if you watch Sesame Street and a lot of the shows from the 70s, and I know some of them today do it, in the end credits, you'll notice all the PhDs and the professors and whatnot's names are listed at the end that they consult for these television shows, and not just Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, some animated cartoons on Saturdays like Shazam and Fat Albert and whatnot would have a moral message at the end of the show, like, hey, today on the program we learned how to not bully people. So see you next week. We'll talk about it again. They consulted all those folks and had them working on the program, and that's fantastic.
And you forgot the ISIS and ISIS and who? The Mighty ISIS
That's right.
and
Shazam and ISIS. Yes.
Were they together? Shazam and ISIS?
Yeah, they actually were in a connected television world. They did cross over once or twice, but yeah, they were two connected shows on Filmation produced on CBS in the 70s, and yes, they were very much they would cross over and have the same formula of television show.
You had to watch the whole hour. You had to watch the whole
That's right.
hour because I had a brother and me, and you have to watch both. So we did. But anyway, that's what I know about 70s television. So.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Well, that's a fantastic story that you called to share with us. We appreciate you calling in.
We all have a great day, and I love Sesame Street.
We love it
Thanks
too.
for calling.
Thanks, Cheryl. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
You know
Fantastic.
what? If it wasn't for Sesame Street, we would have never had Yoda. Had we not had Yoda, we would have never had the Dark Crystal. And had we never had the Dark Crystal, we would have never had the Netflix series that went back and gave us Age of Resistance. So, yes, I love the Muppets.
That's right, and they started way back in the early 60s, old Red Diamond coffee commercials. Jim Henson, actually, everybody thinks that his first Muppet was Kermit, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, his first Muppet to be on television in a commercial was Ralph, the dog. Was one of his earliest ones, and then the Kermit came along a little later. But they spun off from the Muppet Show. They went on from Sesame Street. They went into the Muppet Show, was one of the funniest shows that you'll ever see. To me, that's the funniest they ever were, because the Muppet Show, as you well know, Alan, you've seen it. It's not just for kids. The Muppet Show, you can be an adult and go, oh, wink, wink, nudge. I got that joke. That was funny.
Yeah, we always talk about how successful the Pixar movies are, the 3D animated movies that are now underneath Disney. Well, guess what? Pixar is just doing what the Muppet Show used to do.
Muppets are early Pixar characters, only they were just sewn up Muppets that go on your hand like puppets made out of cotton and cloth. You're right.
I mean, but as far as the storylines go, they had so much physical and silly and young humor that attracted the kids, but there was just enough there that the adults were like, okay, that's funny.
They went on to do the Muppet movie in 1979, and then the various Muppet movies that followed that. I mean, we could talk all day about the legend of Jim Henson. We were lucky enough to be able to go out to do the Hollywood tour in 2017. We didn't get to go because we were on a schedule to do things that we were doing already, and we just didn't schedule to do this. But we did ride by the Jim Henson Company out in Anaheim and saw the building, saw the Kermit statue out front, and did drive by it and see it. And it was, you just kind of felt this nice sense of warm blanket over you when you drove by. I'm like, oh, that's the Jim Henson Company. We know what goes on in there, and we know what he did. So that was fun driving by the location and actually looking at it. I would love to have gone in, but we didn't have the time.
Wow. Can you believe this? We're already coming up to the end of the first hour.
Oh, my goodness, we're coming up to the top of the hour. You're right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk about someone has passed away in the Godzilla universe. And you may not be familiar with his name, but we'll talk about it when we come back. And we're also going to hear from Channel Star Wars after the break as well and find out what's going on in the world of Star Wars. There's a few things going on in that galaxy far, far away, and a cereal icon gets a makeover. One of your favorite cereals. I'm going to tell you about how they've changed the character, changed how it looks, and it could be pro or con. You can decide. It's up on Facebook. You can vote on which one you like, the old version of it, but the new version. And I've got all kinds of stuff here. What am I going to talk about when we come back? I'm going to separate these pieces of paper and find out what else we've got coming up. All that, and we're going to have a quiz for Alan and This Day in History. It's BK on the Air. Stay tuned for more.
Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon. You control the actions of a daring adventurer finding his way through the castle of a dark wizard who has enchanted it with treacherous monsters and obstacles. In the mysterious caverns below the castle, your odyssey continues against the awesome forces that oppose your efforts to reach the dragon's lair. Lead on, adventurer. Your quest awaits.
Why buy just a video game from Atari or Intellivision? Invest in the wonder computer of the 1980s for under $300, the Commodore VIC-20. Unlike games, it has a real computer keyboard. With the Commodore VIC-20, the whole family can learn computing at home. Plays great games, too. Under $300, the wonder computer of the 1980s, the Commodore VIC-20.
Coming soon, Commodore brings you Gorf, the Wonder arcade game, and Omega Race in home versions. Commodore.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
The Force will be with you, always.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Greetings to the Guild in Navarro City. It's time for Star Wars Daily Weekend Edition, brought to you this week by Tangela's Healing Bathhouse, the Navarro Sewer Lava Tours, and ChannelStarWars.com. Star Wars news for Star Wars fans by Star Wars fans. Bringing you the latest faster than a raging mudhorn, I'm your host, Mike Mann. This week's big news, Mandalorian Season 2.
All right, on.
First, in an interview with CNBC, Disney's new CEO, Bob Chapek, reaffirmed that The Mandalorian Season 2 will still be released in October as planned. Neither the Mouse nor Lucasfilm has given us any reason to believe the contrary. But just the fact that the man made the statement puts a smile on our mugs. Filming for Season 2 wrapped in March, and post-production is currently flowing from an at-home arena.
Identify yourself.
I am IG-11. I am this child's nurse droid, and require that you remind him to me immediately.
Next up, the Disney Plus Gallery documentary series about The Mandalorian. And this week brought us Episode 3, The Cast. Show producers Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni sit down with Season 1 stars Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano, and Carl Weathers to discuss the importance of their respective characters, filming, voice work, shared stories from the series, the cast's respective aspects of their characters, along with the acknowledged expectations from the Star Wars community. You'll want to make it a point to check out this very heartfelt and humanizing episode.
That was unpleasant. I'm sorry you had to see that.
And finally, the list. Yes, that's right. Lucasfilm and Disney released the official cast list for The Mandalorian Season 2. Of course, Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, and Giancarlo Esposito will be returning to reprise their respective roles. Also returning in their previous roles will be Julia Jones as Omira, Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand, Bill Burr as Mayfield, Clancy Brown as Blurg, Natalia Tina as Jen, Jon Favreau as Paz Vizsla, and Emily Swallows as the Armorer. Joining this season are Vanessa Marshall as Hera Syndulla, TJ Raimi as Del Miko, Tyra Sakar as Sabine Wren, Timora Morrison as Boba Fett, Robin Atkins Downs as Cham Syndulla, Regina King as Rey Sloane, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, Simon Pegg as Dengar, Kevin McKidd as Fen Rao, John Cummings as Hondo Anaka, Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan, Janina Gavankar as Odin Viscero, Chloe Bennett as Dr. Afra, Dan Donahue as Shriv Suragav, and Dee Bradley Baker as Bosk. Woo, that's a hell of a list. Genevieve O'Reilly will be returning to her role from Rogue One as Mon Mothma, and Lars Mikkelsen is to be announced. And since he hasn't been mentioned yet at all in this spot, Baby Yoda.
I have spoken.
That's all the time we have this week. Before we go, we'd like to send out a very special happy birthday to the maker himself, George Lucas. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest and greatest in Star Warsing. For ChannelStarWars.com, I'm Mike Mann reminding you,
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
And now, back to BK on the air.
Thank you, Mike. ChannelStarWars.com. Check them out. Everything Star Wars under the sun. I also have this story which kind of ties in with that. Did you know that you can help Ewan McGregor get an Obi-Wan statue on Scotland's highest ground? Yes, this comes from nerdbot.com. There's a petition going on that will help create a statue of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi on Scotland's highest ground. Listen to how this does this. Now, the mountain stands at 1,345 meters above sea level and is the highest mountain in the British Isles. Ben Nevis is a popular destination, that's the name of it, attracting an estimated 100,000 ascents a year. The mountain stands at 1,345 meters above sea level. It's the highest mountain. Ben Nevis is a popular destination there. Also, it's also known locally, get this is what's funny, it's known locally as the Ben. The Ben, B-E-N, Ben Kenobi. Isn't that cool?
You've picked the perfect place for it.
A statue of Obi-Wan Kenobi would be rather fitting, given the mountain's nickname. The volcanic past and its highest ground of Ewan McGregor's home country. He would literally have the high ground, watching all over Scotland in a poetic way, as we know in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Don't try it, Anakin. I have the high ground. One of his great lines from Episode 3. Now, it would definitely be a place that was put on many nerdy travel agendas. Yeah, a lot of Star Wars fans would go there because they go everywhere when it comes to Star Wars. You could pop in over there for a picture while you're on your way to see some of the places. The new Amazon Lord of the Rings show is to be filmed, by the way, in that area. Go to change.org or just go to nerdbot.com and you'll see a link to their story on there where you can find out how you can help. Change.org or nerdbot.com for the link. And find out how you can help Ewan McGregor get a Obi-Wan Kenobi statue in Scotland on one of the highest grounds there. So that would be kind of cool to have a. I wonder if he knew. Now Ewan McGregor when he does spots and interviews, he always acts excited. I mean, he was one of the stars in the Star Wars prequels that said, "Oh, I couldn't stop making the laser noise and the lightsaber sounds and whatnot." He sounds like Alan. He had, like we would, the best time being that character.
Oh, he loved it. Loved it. By the way, I've always had an issue with this because you make a point of that iconic line about I have the high ground. Didn't work so well for Darth Maul.
Yeah, well, how much higher could he get at the time, right?
No kidding. I was like, wait a minute, you beat the bad guy in Episode 1 by leaping over his head. Anakin leaps over you and you cut off 2 legs and an arm. Okay, that's cool.
Didn't make a lot of sense there. But as we know, Darth Maul didn't die. He did come back in the Clone Wars and in Solo, a Star Wars story. So Darth Maul lived on, I guess, with robotic legs and whatnot. Star Wars, someone put out on Facebook, or it was somewhere out there on the web. I'll see something, and I don't know where it was, but I know that I saw it. It was on one of the social media sites. It had a picture of R2-D2. It was a screen grab from Episode 3 of R2 standing there during the birth of Luke and Leia, when Padme was giving birth to Luke and Leia, and R2-D2 was there in the room or whatever, there in the area watching it. And then it posted a photo of R2 with Leia as she dies in The Rise of Skywalker. And it's like, how cool is this? R2-D2 was there for the birth of Leia and the death of Leia. And I'm like, that's true. He was.
Yes, he was. The other you can talk about lots of problems. And one of the issues I still have with the prequels, R2 was so much cooler with all of his flying and gear and stuff that he could do, and then apparently he forgot how to do all that in the original trilogy, which technically is later in his life.
Right. Maybe they needed to deprogram R2 a little bit because maybe he was a little too good at that stuff. I don't know.
We can't give you all these tools. You're going to help him out of every problem.
Right. Or it could just be that they had more money and effects for him to do stuff in the prequels. I don't know. Maybe it was that reason. Who knows? Like the Klingons' bones on their head for Star Trek. Where did they come from? They weren't in the old days. It's because we had more money to spend. It's BK on there.
Hi, time for timer, and time to make a week's supply of healthy after-school snacks. Now some weekend when it's raining and your mother is complaining because you're hanging around just twiddling your thumbs. Tell your mom that you've been itching to make something in the kitchen, and oh yes, the mess will be a minimum. But the thing that's going to please her is you make it in the freezer, and nothing could be easier to fix. Now just watch as I go through it. Really, all you need to do it is some kind of juice and just a few toothpicks. Okay, now take an empty ice tray and fill it up with orange juice or lemonade or pomegranate juice or whatever turns you on. Then cover the tray with plastic wrap. Carefully poke the toothpicks through the plastic. Put it in the freezer, and in a few hours, presto, stacks of snacks. Don't wait until it rains before you try this nifty trick. You'll have a fun time making sunshine on a stick.
Hi, this is Jackie Gleason. Maybe you think you can't make money writing, but 10 million Americans have proved you can. What they wrote is their name, right here on an application form for the payroll savings plan. All of a sudden, boom, the United States savings bonds start rolling in, with money saved painlessly out of your paycheck. Before you know it, a nest egg appears. Try it. Be a writer. How sweet it is.
You are listening to BK on the Air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online on the Tunein radio app. Now, back to a guy who'll make you feel really young, mostly because he's so old. It's BK on the Air.
Yeah, I get kind of tired having to explain to kids nowadays and millennials what a typewriter is. Sometimes they'll see a photo of one or one in a thrift store, and they're like, wow, what is that thing over there? I'm like, that's a typewriter, and I have to go through the whole spiel of explaining what a typewriter does, you know? Antiquated technology.
How did you get to find all of the places you need on your phone with a rotary dial?
Yeah, exactly. Don't you love the videos that they put of kids holding ancient pieces of technology? I think it's fantastic. It's really fun to watch those. It makes me feel old, but it really is fantastic.
There was a video I saw not too long ago. It was actually hysterical. I'm a big Photoshop user, Adobe Photoshop, which is a fantastic program for people doing creative things and visually, photographs, things like that. And they brought like 7 or 8 graphic designers, people who use the most recent versions of Photoshop day in and day out. And they said, we're going to put you on one of the very first Macs with Photoshop 1.0, and let's see how you use it. And it was so funny. One person was like, wait a minute, where's the undo? Oh, my God, there's no undo button.
Oh, wow.
And
you can even
people say things like,
take it a step further and give kids a camera back from the old days that had film in it, and go, okay, there's no deleting these photos, and if you mess up, you mess up. You take the pictures, you won't know you messed up until you get them developed.
Right. That was always the worst. You think you got all these cool pictures at a birthday party or an event, and then you're like, wait a minute, my finger's in the way, it's blurred, I moved the camera too much, and you don't know till 2 weeks later. You're right.
You know, it's no secret that you and I are big film lovers of film and movies and whatnot. And the Mad Max world, we love the Mad Max films, the post-apocalyptic Mad Max films. And here's one to make you feel kind of old. I thought I'd do this on this day in history, but I'm gonna throw it in right now with a couple other things before I get to our next story. Did you know that Mad Max Fury Road is 5 years old now?
Gosh, really?
Yeah, it was 5 years ago when that movie came out.
Well, you know, it's high time we have another one.
Yeah, and he's working on one, a Furiosa prequel, from what I understand. So we're all looking forward to that. But that slipped by me, and I think, no, I'm looking at that wrong. Let me read that again. No, it was 5 years ago when it came out. It just doesn't seem like 5 years ago. It never does.
No, it never does.
How cool is this? Say what you want about the government and how they do things and how they operate and pro and con of the president. We don't get into that here with BK on the Air because I just don't have any interest in it. But I can't deny the fact that I think it's ultra cool and really awesome that we actually have a branch of the military now called the Space Force. There's just something about that makes me feel really good. If you had told me this when I was a kid, I'd be like, we have the Space Force? Is that anything like the Rebels? Is that anything like Starfleet? That's going to be that's great to hear that we have an organization. They unfurled the official flag, I think, at the White House yesterday or day before yesterday, of the Space Force with its logo on there. It's arrowhead triangular logo that's on there. And so we have the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, I guess, and now the Space Force. I think that is awesome.
You know, at some point, do you think the Air Force gets rolled into the Space Force?
Yeah, they're like, well, listen, you're the Air Force. Your jurisdiction stops where the atmosphere stops. Okay, you go any further than that, you're in our territory, buddy. Where if you have to have oxygen to breathe, I guess you're getting close to where we have jurisdiction.
You know, though, there's always been overlap in some of the branches of the service. I mean, the Army has jets, but they're not the Air Force. The Marines have helicopters, but so does the Navy. The Navy's got ships, but so do the Marines and the Army. So, yeah, I guess there's a little bit of overlap depending on the mission.
And one would argue, and you were in the Navy, you remember, one would argue that some people would tell you the Navy has some of the best pilots, not the Air Force.
Oh, yeah, I still would tell you that to this day. The Navy has the best pilots. You know what?
Top
Gun was about a Navy guy. It wasn't about an Air Force guy.
It was. And, since we're talking about it, and if we have to go over into the next segment, we will. And I got another story I want to do that we teased before the break. Let's do this day in history because a lot of that ties into that. May 16th, today, to this day in history, 1929, the first Academy Awards was held on this date, Alan, in 1929, and the movie Wings won. It was a World War I silent film with Clara Bow. Have you ever seen it?
I've seen snippets of it. I think because of like the dog fighting and stuff that they had in it. It probably was just people never saw a full length feature that captured the imagination like that, even as a silent picture.
If you let me say this to everyone, if you have a problem with silent films and make fun of them and go, oh, I can never watch a movie that's silent, that's just not my thing. Well, then you can't appreciate film. Wings is a fantastic movie. If you're a film lover, when I first saw it, it really blew me away. I'm like, wow, it's the first movie of its kind, and it won an Academy Award in 1929, the first one. 1963 on May 16th, Gordon Cooper completes 22 orbits in Faith 7, and that ends the U.S. Project Mercury project for NASA. 1965 on May 16th, the Campbell Soup Company introduces for the first time SpaghettiOs under its Franco-American brand. Boy, that was a staple for me growing up, Alan. I know it probably was for you too. I want some SpaghettiOs.
You know what? I remember when it was just one version of SpaghettiOs. There was no meatballs. There was no different shapes. There was no fun sizes. And then as my kids came along, they loved them as a snack, and we would buy SpaghettiOs for them when they came home from school. Because what kid didn't come home from school still hungry and could still eat the full dinner? They'd open up a can of SpaghettiOs or make a little thing of mac and cheese, and that was their snack.
That's right. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich, sit down and watch television. That's right. 1966, not only was the year I was born, but 1966, May the 16th, the Beach Boys released their groundbreaking album, Pet Sounds, and it was one of the most expensive albums, from what I understand, in history, because Brian Wilson would go back in and have to pay for studio time to tweak it, remix, tweak, redo this, re-record and stuff to make it sound the best that he thought it could. So he spent a lot of money on that album. 1980, May the 16th, Paul McCartney releases his McCartney 2 album, which had some hits on it that I loved. 1981, May the 16th, Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carn hits #1 and stays there for 9 weeks. That's back in the days where 1981, I would go out to the river. We would do some swimming or wherever we'd go out and have fun at picnic tables. We'd take the boom box with us, and we would always listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40 Countdown on the radio. And I remember Betty Davis Eyes being #1 for a while back in 1981. 1984, When Doves Cry, the single released by Prince, came out on this day, May 16th, 1984. Billboard Song of the Year, by the way, for 1984 was When Doves Cry. 1986, we talked about this earlier, May the 16th. Top Gun, directed by Tony Scott and starring Tom Cruise, premiered on this day in history, May the 16th. By the way, look up for Maverick. I'm sure its release date has been pushed back, but Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun, will be coming out as soon as we get back to business as normal in the theater. May 16th, 1991. On this day, the Daily Planet fires Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen in the DC Comics comic book. He got fired from the Daily Planet. Maybe he could cross over. I don't know whether he did or not. He could cross over to Marvel and look for a job at the Daily Bugle with Spider-Man. May 16th, another movie premiere in 2002. Star Wars Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones, was released on this day in history. 2002. Man, Alan, that seemed like a long time ago as well. 2002.
Not long enough.
Kind of ticked back. Not long enough. And in 2011, the Space Shuttle Endeavour on this day launched its final commission in space. So there's 2 final NASA missions on the list here. Birthdays for today. Henry Fonda left us many years ago, American actor. Liberace's birthday today. That's right. It's Liberace's birthday today, May the 16th. Yvonne Craig, Batgirl herself from the old Batman television series. She was on a lot of other TV shows. You could catch her. She was actually on an episode of Star Trek. She played one of the Green Girls on Star Trek, the original series. James Bond actor Pierce Brosnan, it's his birthday today. Believe it or not, he's from Ireland. He's not British. He's British, but he's from Ireland. He's not English.
He's not British.
No, he's not British. He's from Ireland.
He's
Some
from
Irish
the
people
UK.
would agree with me.
You could
Some
say he's
Irish
from the
people would
UK,
agree.
but he's not. He's
What's
definitely
funny?
Irish.
It's funny. You got Sean Connery was Scottish. Roger Moore was English. Pierce Brosnan was Irish. George Lazenby was Australian.
Yep.
And then Timothy Dalton was English too. So you had a few mixed.
So far, though,
British.
no one from Wales, the one area of the UK not represented in the Bond films.
Deborah Winger's birthday is today, American actress. For me, truly two of my favorite actresses I always put up is Deborah Winger and Kate Winslet, female actresses. I think Deborah Winger is one of the best actresses to ever come along. Her, Kate Winslet I mentioned, and Jodie Foster I think I would put them up as some of the most classic actresses of my time. Janet Jackson, singer, part-time actress sometimes. I grew up seeing Janet Jackson on Good Times as Penny. Walona's adopted daughter on Good Times. It's her birthday today. And Megan Fox. Let's take a moment. Megan Fox. Okay.
Best part of Transformers.
There we go. Okay. Megan Fox.
Hold on, no, I'm not done.
Today. May the 16th. Yeah, you're right. The only good part of was she in the first two Transformers, I think? She wasn't in the third one, was she?
I don't remember the third because I didn't see the third, because after the second I said I just can't do it anymore.
Well, with her in the first two, I didn't see much of those except for her. I saw her. Today is National Something Day, and I'll tell you what it is, May the 16th. It's National Barbecue Day today. Well, for me, that's every day, but that's a nice day for it to be today. I think maybe I'll celebrate that today when I get out later today. Today is National Do Something Good for Your Neighbor Day. Well, at this point, do something good for them would be stay 6 feet away from them, I guess.
And come out and do some shopping.
Some of my neighbors, I stay half a mile away from them because I really don't want to get close. Today is National Sea Monkey Day.
It's National Sea Monkey Day.
It is. It's National Sea Monkey Day today. Is there more of a disappointing thing as a kid that you could order than sea monkeys? A disappointment?
Yeah, because they made it look like they were going to be like these interactive creatures like out of a comic book cartoon or something, and they were like little brine shrimp.
Yeah, and when I got them, I'm like, "Where's the circus? Where are they playing out on a picnic? I don't even see a park for them to have a picnic in. What's going on? I got ripped off." Well, they got enough of all the kids' money that they just moved on and went, "Okay, that's enough of that. Let's move on to the next rip-off thing. We'll do that." And they still sell sea monkeys to this day. You can find them, but I think everyone, wink, wink, knows now. It's just kind of a fun thing. You could just buy them and show them to your kids and go, "This is what we thought they were going to be, kids. Look at this comic book ad. look at what we could have gotten." Today is National Armed Forces Day. That's the third Saturday every May when it comes up. So that's very cool. That is that. And it's also National Love a Tree Day, May the 16th today. Well, not with the 6-foot social distancing stuff. Keep your distance away from those trees. Don't bark up the wrong tree. But there you go. That's May 16th, this day in history. I thought I would get it out of the way since we did mention Top Gun and a lot of other things.
In fact, I'm using that as our out theme right here. We got about 10 seconds till the bottom of the hour.
Top Gun. Well, when we come back, I'll have that story that I teased about a certain producer of Godzilla films passing away. It's BK on the Air.
Hi, I'm Woodsy Owl. In order to try and stop pollution, we need more help. So, help Woodsy spread the word. Come on, never be a dirty bird. No matter where you go, you can let some people know to give a hoot. Don't pollute. Never be a dirty bird. In the city or in the woods, help keep America looking good.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Jarvis, a virtual artificial intelligence, and I'm here to assist you with a variety of tasks as best I can. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Importing all preferences from home interface. Systems are now fully operational.
And now, back to the guy who secretly thinks J.J. Abrams did the best job with any Star Trek movie, but he'll never admit it. It's BK on the air.
That's right. You know, I'll never admit that I'm fat either.
Oh, my God.
There's a lot of things I won't admit, you know, so you got to get me back into a corner to admit it. Hey, if you hear the show every Saturday live from 10 a.m. till noon, I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't heard nothing, because you can board, after the show is over every Saturday, you can board the BK Escape Pod. It's the podcast version of the show where I beef it up. I give it some steroids. I give it some bionic parts and make it a little different than what you heard on Saturday. So you can tune in to listen to me on Anchor, SoundCloud, and Podbean. That's the BK Escape Pod, the podcast version of BK on the air. Well, I talked about it earlier in the broadcast today, but I'm going to give it to Alan right now. We like to do the MeTV quizzes sometimes. You go to metv.com. They have a lot of classic television and movie quizzes on there, and I try to pick the ones that we might do a pretty good job at having at least a small chance of getting some of the questions right. The one I've selected today is, and let me tell you right up front, I did terrible on this one, Alan. I got several of these wrong, but here's what it is.
That doesn't bode well for me.
The name of this quiz, here's the quiz. The classic television introduced the world to many famous actors. Some of these actors left the small screen to begin long film careers. Now, on the flip side, certain actors starred in numerous movies before finding acclaim on television. It goes both ways. So let's see if you can guess if these famous actors starred in movie or on TV in the very first part of their career, the first thing they were in. Was it a television, or the only answer you can give in this quiz is movie or television? Which were they in first?
Can we just say, here's an audio sounder of what my score will sound like?
That's not necessarily true. By the way, there's no emergency casts on here. Since you played that, there's none of them on here. So, but that's not true. Let's see if you do better than I did, because when it's over, I'll tell you what happened. Number one, first up, I'll give you the actor or actress's name, and you just tell me simply, were they in a movie first or were they on television first?
Okay.
William Shatner's first screen acting role came in 1951. Was it in a movie or a TV show?
I'm going to go movie.
Movie. You are correct. Shatner was in the movie called The Butler's Night Off in 1951, and I went and looked at a clip of it on YouTube, and it's hilarious to see him in this clip. It's like, wow, he's a young whippersnapper in that. Number two, Dick Van Dyke. We're all big Dick Van Dyke fans. Alan, you're familiar with Dick Van Dyke, legendary actor, choreographer, dancer. Guy's done a little bit of everything, singer. Mm-hmm. He's known for both his TV and film work. Which one gave him his first acting job?
See, back
movie or television?
Back then, I would have to think it was TV.
TV for Dick Van Dyke. Ooh, correct. You got it right. His first appearance was on the Phil Silvers Show in 1957. So you got two right in a row. You're on a roll.
Uh-oh. You just cursed it.
You know what happens when you're on a roll, right? When you're rolling real fast and out of control. Number three, Harry Morgan. You remember Harry Morgan from MASH and Dragnet and Pete and Gladys television show. Where was his first? Where did he get his start? Was it the movies or was it in television? Harry Morgan.
I'm saying the movies.
You're saying the movies. Harry Morgan. Yes, it was in the movies. He played the butler in the 1933 movie The Kennel Murder Case. See, they're going back and finding the very first roles these people did.
Yeah,
that's where this messed me up.
Maybe not even said a word or just been a walk-on one-liner, and that's their debut.
That's right. We want to know where they got their start, and it's telling us. Number four, where did TV icon Carol Burnett get her start? Was it movie or television? I'm a big fan of the Carol Burnett show. I thought she's a funny lady, loved just about everything she's done.
I'd have to say television.
Carol Burnett, television. I'm choosing television. Correct. Alan, you're 4 for 4.
That's crazy.
He was on the Paul Winchell Show in 1955, where she got her start. Here we go. It's looking like this quiz for Alan is looking like the blind monkey finding a banana here.
No kidding, but so far, this is like crazy. I've wasted all my.
You are guessing some of them, all right?
But I'm using all my bananas on this instead of something else.
Number 5, Andy Griffith. Andy Griffith Show, Salvage 1. The man has been all over the place. Ritz crackers, commercials. He acted in movies before landing his own TV show. But where did he first start acting? Andy Griffith, movie or television?
I think it was film. I think it was in the movies.
And you are incorrect.
Cow turd.
There's your first miss. And this is weird. Listen why you're incorrect. He starred in the 1955 episode No Time for Sergeants of the United States Steel Hour, which that episode of that show was made into a movie in 1958.
See, I was thinking No Time for Sergeants. I thought that was his debut, but I guess not.
Now he was in the episode "No Time for Sergeants" of the United States Steel Hour, which actually turned into a movie. So see, that's why this quiz is kind of hard. All right, we're talking Andy Griffith Show. Let's stay in that general area. Don Knotts, who played Barney Fife and also played Mr. Furley in Three's Company. We talked about Don Knotts a couple of weeks ago. A war veteran and many movies in the '60s. Where his first acting job was in 1951, but was it in a movie or a TV show for Don Knotts?
See, I'm trying to remember the golden rage of television. I'm going to say movie. I think it was in was it in No Time for Sergeants? He had a little bit part?
He did, but that was not his first acting role. That is incorrect. His first acting role was on the daytime soap opera Search for Tomorrow. Was where his first job was.
No way. He was in a soap opera?
He was. No. First thing he did, first acting gig.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. We're still continuing the Andy Griffith role here. Ron Howard, Opie from Andy Griffith and on Happy Days, and now successful director. Ron Howard became successful for many years directing. But which medium did he start acting in? Was it movies or television for Ron Howard?
I want to say TV because that's where he became a household name. But I'm going to go the opposite of my gut and say movie.
You're going. Alan's going opposite gut here. He's going with movies, and your spider sense was correct. He had a brief appearance in his father Rance's movie Frontier Woman. Frontier Woman. So
and
there you go.
I think that's what got him onto the Andy Griffith Show, right?
That's right. It probably did. And Rance was on the Andy Griffith Show playing 2 or 3 characters, I think, at one point. Now that Ron's getting older, have you noticed how he looks like his dad now? He really does.
Oh wow.
That's a thing that happens to all of us.
That's what happens when you lose your hair.
That's right. His dad lost his. Okay, Sarah, whatever will be. Doris Day. That's the Doris Day song. Okay, Sarah, of her TV show. But Doris Day is our next up to bat here. What was Doris Day's very first role in? Was it on movie or television? Doris Day.
I'm going to say television.
Television, Doris Day. No, incorrect. She starred in Romance on the High Seas in 1948. Very early for her. Alan's getting frustrated there.
Every time I get one wrong. So far, I got a 3 cow turd run.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I tell you, I blew at this one. I was terrible at this one. Number 9. Pardon me, one more question. Alan, Peter Falk from Colombo. How about Peter Falk? He switched from TV to film many times, but his first role was in what? A movie or a television show? Peter Falk.
I'm going movie. Film
for Peter Falk. Oh, another wrong answer. Incorrect. He starred in 1957 episode of Return Visit of the Robert Montgomery Presents television series. Movie Robert Montgomery. So how about that?
Well, I'm 5 for 4. So if this is a 10 question quiz, the worst I'll be is 50-50.
Now, you keep forgetting that Peter Falk was the storytelling grandpa in The Princess Bride. Every time that pops up, I'm like, that's right, he was in that. I just forgot that he was in that.
I love it. That may be one of the greatest films ever.
Oh yeah, James Arness. Mr. Matt Dillon himself. We talked about Gunsmoke earlier and William Conrad doing Gunsmoke on the radio. Well, James Arness played Matt Dillon in the Gunsmoke television series, the longest running Western in television history. Where did James Arness, though, get his start?
I want to say movies. Was it because he played the Thing from outer space?
Movies, he did, but he was in something before that. He was credited as James Arness. I guess it was misspelled or he had another name. In the 1947 film, The Farmer's Daughter. So you did get it right. You just got the movie wrong, but you got the what he was in first was movie.
Excellent.
That's right.
So 6 and 4. Not horrible, but that'd still be a D.
You've got a few more to go, though.
We're not done.
No, we're not done yet. BK on there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll finish off this quiz. And we got a couple more stories to talk about and some more nostalgia geekiness and all of that and some more surprises when we come back. It's BK on the air.
I wanna do right. Oh, gotta do right.
When Christopher walked into class, there was no place to sit. His interjection. Yeah, Christopher shouted some interjection.
Damn, this sucks. Screw this. Yo, this ain't fair. How come I don't get a chair?
Interjection.
Damn.
Is a big word
Screw.
that you can't spell. There's too many kids in the classroom, and there's not enough books to go around. It's a bitch when you gotta go to public school. When Desiree opened her book, she had to take a second look. Richard Nixon is pressed. Yeah, that's what it says. So Dad started shouting some interjection.
This blows. How could I learn history when the book only goes to 73? Eat me.
Interjection is a big word that you can't spell. Because there's too many kids in the classroom, and there's not enough books to go around. It's a bitch when you gotta go to a public school. So if you're pissed,
damn,
and steamed,
crap,
really mad,
screw this,
and getting reamed,
eat me.
An interjection is the thing to shout.
This blows.
Interjection is a big word that you can't spell, that you can't spell, that you can't spell, that you can't spell.
Damn, ain't it a bit? Millions of Americans every day are shedding unwanted pounds by taking tested and proven Ultra Lipo Stick. Carbohydrates are bad. Our carbo-fighting antioxidant is good. Just listen to these satisfied customers.
My name is Gail, and I lost like 20 pounds on Ultra Lipo Stick.
My name is Jared, and I lost 46 pounds using Ultra Lipo Stick.
My name is Zach, and I actually gained weight. This stuff sucks!
Ultra Lipo Stick is safe and easy to inject. Just 3 doses 4 times a day discreetly underneath your fingernail. Listen to this.
I used Ultra Lipo Stick and suffered from side effects like uncontrollable greasy discharge.
Ultra Lipo Stick, it turned the armpits of all of my shirts orange. This stuff is crap.
Try it today and see some real results. Ultra Lipo Stick. Not available in stores. Results may vary.
And now back to the guy who knows no limit on self-promotion. It's BK on the air.
Well, the only limit I've got is if I have to pay for it myself. We don't have the biggest budget for promotion, do we, Alan?
No, not at all.
Hey, we're doing a quiz. Sometimes we do it from time to time from metv.com. They have a lot of quizzes on their website, and this one is actors and actresses. Where did they get their start? Was it movies and television? And when we left off, we were at number 11 with Alan. We're giving Alan the quiz. I did horrible at it. In fact, I think Alan's doing better at it than I did. The next up is Lucille Ball, legendary comedian. Lucy Show, I Love Lucy. Here's Lucy. Lucy battles Darth Vader. She had so many shows and movies, you can't even name them all. But she was a legend, and I was a big Lucy fan. But where did she get her start, Lucille Ball? In the movies or on television?
Oh, gosh. See, I keep wanting to go like she's known so much for TV. So you kind of think, well, maybe that's why the trick, maybe she was because
some of them did known for TV, did get started in television. You're right.
And some of them, the reason we know them from television is that's where they got discovered as television. So we're going
back and grabbing their first role they ever did. Where did they get started?
Ever from the very beginning of time. I'm going to go movie.
Lucy in the movies. And Alan is right. You're right. She had an uncredited appearance in 1933's The Bowery.
I've never even heard of that.
No, I neither. And we haven't heard a lot of these first movies that some of these folks are. Number 12. Hey, ask yourself a question, punk. Clint Eastwood. Yeah, where was his first role, in a movie or on television? What do you think? Now, he was on Rawhide, the TV show, very early in his career.
For a long time.
And was it television or movies?
I think it's going to because the guys at 60 Minutes With do the Clint cast, and it's swear
great too, yeah.
that they said that he was making his first movies that he was known for, the Man with No Name trilogy. The first one came out in Europe but didn't even come to the U.S. because Rawhide was still on, and so he was still only known for Rawhide. It wasn't until a year later that it hit the U.S., but maybe he was kind of like Lucille Ball in an extra in something. I hate you. I hate you.
Alan's in torture.
I'm going to say movies.
Gonna say movies. You know what? You are right. Yay! He had an uncredited role in the Creature from the Black Lagoon sequel, Revenge of the Creature.
Really?
Was the first thing he did. Now later on in 1955, he was the jet pilot in the movie Tarantula, about the giant tarantula attacking folks, and you could only see his eyes. He had the oxygen mask on in the jet, and you can only see his eyes and hear his voice in Tarantula. So yes, Clint's first work was in the movies. So
wow!
Right.
Oh my God! Okay, cool.
Number 13, one of my favorite men in the entire world, Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason show, The Honeymooners, Smokey and the Bandit. Jackie Gleason has done so much stuff. He was a legend, one of my biggest influence, and loved him since day one. Where did Jackie get his start, Alan? Movies or TV?
Dang.
I did get this one right only because I've read his biography.
Well, that helps, and I have not.
Right.
See, a lot of these older, because TV was still not yet big, and they were older when they kind of got into TV, so I'm going to say movies.
Concentrate and try to get it right, you scum bum.
Movies.
Okay. Movies for Jackie Gleason. You would be right. 1941 film Navy Blues from Warner Brothers was his first film. That he got in a lot of trouble because he wanted to ad-lib a lot if you watch the movie Gleason based on his life. So
Jackie Gleason ad-lib? No.
No way. Him get in trouble? No way. Number 14, another star of both Silver Screen and its living room counterpart is Alan Alda from MASH. Now, which one brought him his first acting gig? Movies or television?
This is another one where like almost everyone knows him from MASH, but he's also got a big body of film work.
Right.
God bless.
It's your job to guess.
That's exactly what I'm going to have to do here. I'm doing the thing where, like, what was the Gomer Pyle episode when he kept hitting his fingers, and whichever one twitched more, he would pick that one? I'm going to go, hold on. TV.
Try it. TV. You guessed TV. Well, your fingers were right. He was in the Phil Silvers episode Bilko the Art Lover in 1958 was Alan Alda's first acting gig. So you should stick with your fingers, I guess.
I'm going to have to do that. It never worked for me when I was doing the Scantrons in high school. But
we're ticking down here. Got a few more. Number 15, known for many great films, Jodie Foster. I just mentioned her earlier. Is a wonderful actress. She also acted in TV shows as a child, but where was her first appearance? In a movie or on television?
See, I thought she made her debut in Taxi Driver. So, but I'm gonna say, yeah, you're killing me here. You're killing me, Smalls. I'm gonna say movies.
Movies for Jodie Foster. You would be incorrect. She was on the aforementioned The Doris Day Show in 1969.
Dang it! You know what? God, I remember that now. Stupid me.
Was her
Stupid brain not working.
All right, here's the last one. Let's do the last one. Steve McQueen, the man who was Bring 'em Wanted Dead or Alive, Bullet. The man had he had a huge career in Hollywood, which was legendary. He's loved by many of his classic films. Where did he start his career? Was it in the movies or was it on television? Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen. I think I'm going to go TV because it screwed me up.
TV for Steve.
TV.
Correct. His first acting role was in a Bell Telephone Systems promotional short that aired on television. Was his first acting gig. So there you go. Alan, you got 11 out of 16 right. You're just starting your trivia career, it says.
I'm just starting. Well, no, I'm going to retire on this one.
You got 16 right. You got 11 right out of 16.
Right.
I got 8 right. So you blew me away on this one as far as quizzes go.
Yeah,
so
but these were all.
I really messed up on that.
We'll use an acronym, and you guys can fill in what the words mean. I just did a lot of wagging at that one. I took some wags.
And a little finger slapping too.
I did. Hey, do you remember that episode with Gomer Pyle when he was driving the sergeant nuts? They were all taking a test.
You're asking me, do I remember that Gomer Pyle episode? I certainly do. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Okay.
It was, he passed the quiz though.
Yeah, he beat the sergeant on that same test because he was getting so annoyed with hearing in the background. He's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I don't know.
We're ticking up to the end of the show here, but I want to get this in. Maybe another story here. Did you know that Izo Kamai, K-A-I-M-I, Izo Kamai passed away this week? That doesn't ring a bell.
Doesn't
but
ring any
bell
at all.
I bet what he did will ring a bell to you. Born in 1929, Tokyo, he had a hand in the origins of the tokusatsu genre by modeling costumes for the original Godzilla film. Following this, he went on to work on the many follow-up films of the 50s, 60s, including Godzilla Raids Again, Godzilla King of the Monsters, King Kong vs. Godzilla, and Mothra versus Godzilla. Now, in 1966, he lent his expertise to Ultra Q. That's the predecessor of Ultraman on television. The 1970s would see Kamei return to Ultraman to the work of Return of Ultraman. He would go on to have a hand in many of the most famous Ultra series, including Ultraman Ace, Ultraman Taro, and many more through the 80s. Along the way, Izo Kamei would form and work under his own company, Kamei Productions. He lived 90 years and passed away at his home, a true legend in the world of Godzilla and Ultraman. So there you go, a man responsible for modeling some of those suits for those shows in the first Godzilla suit. That guy had a big claim to fame. 90 years old, he could look back on a career. Did you know I was watching? I don't remember if it was an Ultraman episode once or a Space Giant or one of those import shows from Japan that we watched as kids, where the heroes like Ultraman, Spectre-Man, or the Space Giants would fight the big guys in the rubber monster suits. And watching one of those episodes, I spotted they added some things to it, and they added some like wings on its head or reptile wings on its head. But it was on that show the old Godzilla suit fighting one of these heroes.
Wow.
I did. They recycled the Godzilla suit, one of the old ones, and put it on one of these TV shows and just added a couple of weird reptilian fins or something to its head or something like that to make it look a little different. But it was the eyes. It's the eyes that gave it away. The old Godzilla suit had such cute little puppy dog eyes.
The windows to the soul. I knew who it was.
Even Godzilla. The eyes into the nuclear heart and soul of Godzilla. That's right.
As a kid watching the old Ultramans, it never bothered me or Godzilla when they would fall into buildings. There was never anything inside the buildings. It was just like they'd collapse like cardboard, and you're like, oh, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and maybe in my mind as a kid, I justify it by saying, well, they radioed ahead to the city to evacuate everybody out of the buildings, and everything was okay.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no desks falling out, no floors.
Well, they evacuated the desks too, and everything else. They took
no office equipment, no elevators, no debris, just crumbling walls.
Just a lot of paper mache and plastic in there. That's all that was left.
But you know what? You can only do what you can do based on the technology, and obviously those series evolved to where we have them to this day.
That's right. And Godzilla's gone through a lot of changes over the years, and there's a new Godzilla and King Kong cinematic universe out now where they're both linked in the same world, and we got a promised Godzilla versus Kong coming out. I don't know whether that's been pushed back, but I don't know if it was supposed to come out this year or next year anyway. So we've got that to look forward to. But I got one more thing I want to squeeze in that just fits this show like a T. You and I were talking about cereal a few weeks ago. Remember that? And we started craving
90
cereal,
seconds.
breakfast cereal. Well, Fruit Loops Toucan Sam, he's been their mascot for so many years, and the way he looks, his little rainbow-like beak, and the way he talks, and the way just his standard look, you see a picture of him, he hasn't changed for years. Well, they have changed Toucan's look. If you go on my Facebook page, I don't know if I can get too into this before we run out of time. It's been a long staple for many of our lives. The sugar-coated rings of fruit flavors. I loved Fruit Loops. It was, again, another one of my favorites. They mix with Saturday mornings like X-Men or Batman or anything else that came along with Saturday mornings. It's not hard to love him, and he was drawn in the style that we knew and loved at the time, but they have changed him. Now, there's no way to kind of explain what he looks like here on the radio because it's radio. I can't really show you a picture, but go on my Facebook page. I've actually listed show the new picture of the way he looks now and how he's going to look and the old classic way. I'm just asking people, hey, which one's your favorite? And it's not very favorable online. A lot of people are responding with the disappointment on it. So check it out. He looks a little more, actually he looks less detailed and a little more goofy and a little more cartoony than his predecessor.
I'll give it a look.
Give it a look and tell me what you think. It's BK on the Air. Thanks everyone for joining us. Join us all with the podcast with BK on the Air, the Escape Pod on Podbean, SoundCloud, and Anchor. We'll see you next week. BK on the Air. Have a great rest of your weekend.
A poet named John Donne said, "No man is an island." What he meant was that we all need each other. There are a lot of things we can do by ourselves, and it's a good feeling when we can. But it's kind of foolish, and maybe even dangerous, to try to do something by ourselves when we don't know how. Asking for help or advice when we need it isn't a sign of weakness. It shows you're smart. See you next week.